Hello and welcome to MovieLoser.com's virtual pubcast. I'm Ken Ekman, and I'm joined today by Bill Arsena,
Hey guys.
Bill Leon,
Hello.
and Hawk Ripjaw.
Hello.
And this is an interesting week of movies. There's a lot of diversity between the releases in this week, and not only that, but we're also going to lead off before we get into Mission Impossible and Teen Titans Go to the Movies. We'll also be covering Blind Spotting today. We're going to talk about Sacha Cohen's new project, a TV series, and
Sacha Baron Cohen.
yes, Sacha Baron Cohen. Well, okay, that's fine.
He's Baron.
Dr. Sacha Baron. No.
Dr. Sacha Baron Cohen.
I literally know no one else named Sacha Cohen, so I'm okay with calling
No, I know. I just think it's, to clarify.
Dr. Sacha Baron, formerly known as Freddie Mercury.
Oh yeah, he was on Freddie Mercury.
Right.
the Sacha formerly known as Cohen.
We're not going to talk about Bohemian Rhapsody because that'll add a whole 20 minutes to the discussion.
No.
Sacha Baron Cohen's new Showtime television series is called Who is America? It is essentially, as far as I can tell from where it's gone, it's sort of a revival of the format of the Ali G show with a very hard-leaning political liberal stance to it. And I compare it to the Ali G show in that it seemed they've released 3 episodes so far, and he has only played 3 characters in each episode. So it seems like in Ali G, it was Ali G, Borat, and Bruno. And now it's these 3 new characters. I don't remember their names. Their names aren't that important. Basically, you have this diabetic, wheelchair-bound guy who's like an Alex Jones type. He runs a sort of info wars type of internet show, and he'll the very first bit is that character interviewing Bernie Sanders and presenting Bernie Sanders with this completely absurd information that is basically just designed to confuse him, and he doesn't fall for it. He's just like, I don't understand what you're talking about. The second character is a white, straight man, social justice warrior type. He wears an NPR t-shirt, and he always talks about the first episode. So again, I'm going to spoil a lot of the sketches. If you like Sacha Baron Cohen, if you like Borat, if you like any kind of comedians taking advantage of real people and trying to get them to say outlandish shit on camera, turn this off, go watch the show, come back and listen to the review, because I'm about to spoil some sketches here. So this SJW character he does is sitting down with like an Alabama, some kind of politician in Alabama, and his wife, and he's telling them, he's like, we force my son to sit down when he pees, but my daughter is forced to stand up when she pees so that they can learn about gender roles.
Okay.
And the people he interviews just like they at no point does anybody break. I'm sure they might have filmed stuff where people break and figure it out or recognize him, and that probably wasn't used. But everything in the show is like these people just sort of go along with it, and they increasingly kind of get angry about the way he's talking to them. And the third,
I have a question for you on that.
What's that?
So I think it was fairly publicized that Bruno had a lot of scripted sequences where the people were in on the joke but would act like they were not. Where they have the in Bruno where they use the gardeners as chairs.
It's been a while since I've seen Bruno, but that sounds vaguely familiar.
There's these Hispanic gardeners that they make them get on their hands and knees and just basically be a seating surface for the characters. And the other actor is looking really uncomfortable. Then I think it was later revealed that that was a scripted thing. Everybody was actors, and the discomfort on the part of the interviewee was entirely acted out.
Oh, okay.
That wasn't an actual situation that Sacha Baron Cohen would have wanted to do to anybody. So it was a scene that he wrote and hired people to act out.
So here's what
I'm getting. Go ahead.
What I will say is I'm not particularly concerned about what, as long as Sacha Cohen is being forthright and honest about the fact that some things are scripted, and when he does, that's fine. If he said everything I do is real, it would anger me if he was being dishonest like that. But the truth is that, to me, it's the fact that in movies like Borat, I can't tell what is real and what isn't from scene to scene.
Well, in Borat, there were some segments that I thought were pretty obviously
everything.
Yeah.
But what I'm getting at is I'm always curious when it comes to these types of shows, especially reality shows and like that stupid Carbonaro Effect and Impractical Jokers, how much of it actually ends up being scripted. And so I'm curious if there were anything.
I'm not an imbecile. I know Kazakhstan does not annually hold a running of the Jew.
Right.
But
I do actually sort of have a bomb to drop that relates to what Hawk was just talking about, which is that Nathan Fielder was a credited director on episode 2 of this.
All right.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And also apparently he's like a producer or executive producer. So Nathan Fielder is now involved.
What about Cecil Fielder?
I don't know who that is, but let me get back to try to keep this review short. I'm just going to run through like some of the things that have happened so far on the show that have made me laugh so hard. He gets this famous gun lobbyist to promote Gunimals, which is guns that are very poorly disguised as stuffed animals for children. The entire point being is that to help prevent school shootings, we will arm toddlers.
Okay.
And he talks to this governor, I think from Alabama. My facts on these people's political positions could be totally wrong, but I believe it was a governor from Alabama. He just looks at him and he's like, "You want me to say on camera that I approve of toddlers with guns?" And that's one of the people that didn't sue him. See, the thing about Who is America is that at this point, with all the lawsuits coming out, this shit happened because so many people are pissed off and retaliating over what he filmed. He had Dick Cheney sign a water jug that he said was a waterboarding jug, and Dick Cheney was just so happy and thrilled to sign this thing. Just like, yeah, I love waterboarding. This is something I've been supporting for years. On camera, he did this.
Damn.
One of the other people suing him, I don't remember what this guy's political position is, but he was in some kind of political power in, I believe, Florida, and playing the third character on the show, who is this sort of ex-Middle Eastern militia guy. He's telling him, he's like, if you drop your pants.
Oh, this is the guy from Georgia.
This is the famous like breakout clip from the show at this point.
He was a Georgia lawmaker who came up with the Ban the Burqa campaign.
Ban the Burqa. So Sacha Baron Cohen has this guy, and he tells him to pretend he's a Chinese tourist with a selfie stick, and to use the selfie stick to peek underneath the burqa to determine the genitals of the person, using,
which is essentially making the person doing this a peeper.
Yes, but also he puts the selfie stick in the guy's hand, and he has this actress in a burqa, and he says, "All right, pretend to be a Chinese terrorist." And this guy's walking around talking gibberish. He's like, "Oh, red dragon, sushi," like just saying, yeah, and then Sacha Baron Cohen takes him aside and he's like, "All right, so if a terrorist is going to attack you, you have about 3 seconds to draw attention to yourself. Nothing is going to draw attention more than you screaming the N-word." And like at the drop of a hat, this dude just starts screaming the N-word. And Sacha Baron Cohen's character is like, "No, the N-word was," and then he says like some Israeli
or
Numi, yeah, I forget what it is, but just the shit that he gets these people to do is unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's
Then he pulls on his pants and he's like trying to rub his butt up against a guy.
He says if you touch a homosexual's ass or another man's ass, then you are automatically gay.
Yeah.
So this dude drops his pants and is like backing his ass up to Sacha Baron Cohen, who has like a padded shield, and he's like, America.
Wow.
It is so it's so worth watching. They're only 3 episodes in. I hear the producers have said that like each episode gets more crazy. The end of episode 2.
The final episode winds up with him talking to the president. That would be amazing, but I doubt it.
No. We would have heard about it by now.
Or maybe Vladimir Putin. Now that would be interesting.
The end of episode 2 features Sacha Baron Cohen as the SJW white man character, presenting to what seems like a very hick town in Arizona the prospect of a mosque being built in their town, and they are just not okay with it at all. Like,
really? I wonder what articulate comments they would come up with.
One of the women in the crowd says, I'm racist against Muslims. That's the phrasing she uses.
Okay.
All right. Well, it's
Sacha Baron Cohen. I honestly like with the sort of impact and what's the word I'm looking for? The attention that this show is getting. I don't think it's as good or as endearing as something like Nathan For You, at least not at this stage, 3 episodes in. I don't think it's as charming as Ali G, but it certainly is interesting, shocking, relevant to today. And also, like, I mean, kind of the whole point of it is like, look how fucked up our country is right now. And yeah, it makes that point well. Like,
very clearly.
Yes. So I think it has a ton of potential. What they have put out is super funny. I hope that this goes in like a Nathan For You direction and starts to kind of like how Borat became more about the character Borat towards the end of it, you know, which is what Nathan For You has done, I think. But I recommend it. I think if you like what you've seen from Sacha Baron Cohen in the past, this will not disappoint.
All right.
Where
is that playing?
It's a Showtime show.
Showtime, okay.
It could be on Hulu because I think Hulu and Showtime might have a deal.
It is if you get Showtime through Hulu.
Oh, okay.
I don't think I have Showtime, but I'll have to look.
Right.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and move on now to Blind Spotting.
Ooh, this is a great film.
It's a fantastic movie.
Excellent, especially coming off the heels so closely from Sorry to Bother You.
Which I don't think it's quite people. Every time I say something about Blind Spotting to somebody, they're like, "Oh, how does it compare to Sorry to Bother You?"
Really, people are actually making those comparisons.
Yeah. It's like, well, it's a movie that takes place in Oakland and has an African American actor in the main role, and that's about it.
I was gonna say, like, why would you? I mean, really, what can you compare to Sorry to Bother You? Like,
it's hard to. Dr. Strangelove, maybe.
Maybe.
But it's in the same vein as those movies.
I don't think that's appropriate to just be like, oh, a modern film made by a black cast and crew. Let's compare it to Sorry to Bother You. It's like, no, that film.
No, that's not what we're. I mean, like, I think it's just that it follows it so closely in terms of release that you can't help but to compare it to that.
Right.
But truthfully, both movies couldn't be more different. I mean, they're both kind of in the same arena as far as themes go. Sort of. The Sorry to Bother You is more about labor and workers' rights and racial bias in work and things of that nature. But this movie is more just about completely different themes, but still with a left-leaning, progressive bent to it. I would say.
I wouldn't even say that. It's kind of it shows how things are.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking when I was watching this movie. I was like, Sorry to Bother You is very much kind of where we're heading. This is more where we're at.
Yeah, and I wouldn't like. That's why I kind of challenge the left leaning, and like it's not really that. It has no political bias. It's just it has
Really,
to do with,
yeah, you're right. You're right. It isn't really politically biased. It's more biased towards what's right and wrong. You know what I mean? Like
because
it's more towards.
it is
Yeah,
about
you're
racial
right.
bias. It is about police brutality. It's about gentrification. Very very
That's
interesting.
a very very good theme in the movie. It's about stereotypes. It's about how we perceive people.
Yep.
It's about how people see themselves. You know,
Yeah.
whether or not there is free will, even. You know,
Yeah.
or are we just cogs in a machine? You know, it's
I
pretty interesting. How, yeah, no, I saw that in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, when I first heard about this, it was like a trailer that played, might have been playing in front of Sorry to Bother You. I think I first saw the trailer online, and I was like, oh, I wonder what this is. Like, just some movie, I guess. And then I saw it had a 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. So then it kind of got my interest, and then I decided to go watch it with mild interest. I was like, yeah, it might be kind of cool. You know what? One last go, one last uh, one last go with Movie Pass.
Yeah, which we haven't even
After
talked about
all.
on the show yet. Yeah.
And as it turns out, it wasn't listed on the Movie Pass app, so I paid real money. But it ended up possibly being my favorite movie of the year.
Really? Going that far? Okay.
Yes.
I might go that far too. Not quite favorite of the year, but definitely on my list. I'll figure it out by the end of the year which one it will.
Well, you
favorite,
have to, so
right.
got to make a decision. Damn it!
But it's August. I mean, it's fine. But
I mean, I will probably have to give it some thought as well. It's definitely going to be way up there. I mean, because as soon as I got out of the movie, I mean, halfway through the movie, I was like, "Wow, what I'm watching is really good." And then when it was over, I thought to myself, "That is an excellent film that I just watched."
it's fiery. It's funny. It's passionate. It's edgy.
Well, so it's about it's first of all, it's worth noting that the two main characters played by David Diggs of Hamilton and Raphael Casal, I think.
I think so. Yeah,
these two guys are actually lifelong best friends in real life,
as well as in the movie.
As well as the movie, and they both wrote and produced this movie, and you can see that friendship on the screen. So it's about David Diggs' character. He plays Colin.
Yeah.
And Colin is 3 days away from getting off of his year-long probation in a halfway house. And he wants to keep his head down, go back to normal life, put this felony behind him, and just kind of move on with things. Whereas his best friend, Raphael Casal's character, is
Miles.
Miles is a white guy who acts totally thug all the time. He has a grill. He has tattoos. He's
born and raised in Oakland.
He's born and raised in Oakland, and the reason he inhabits this thug persona is because he is terrified at being seen as one of the gentrified white hipsters that are moving into Oakland and changing its identity from being kind of a hood haven into this kind of techie upscale,
which we see very subtly in some scenes and very overtly in other scenes. Like it's in the background at times, and then it's in the foreground at other times, and it's in your face towards the end. The gentrification aspects, and which it has to be because the movie reaches a certain peak at a certain point. But he's kind of very stylized, about who he is or who he wants to project himself to be, who he wants others to see him as. Miles is, and so they both play two guys that work in a moving company. They work the same route. They work the same truck, and they're almost like connected to the community in a very deep way, as well,
Yeah, and it's established very early on that, like from the opening scene, that Miles is going to cause a very big problem for Colin with the way he acts. They've been lifelong friends, but it's clear that it's not really that Colin's a bad influence on Miles, but that at some point he may cause some issues with the
probation,
with Colin having this past, because Miles in the first scene buys a gun just in a car,
Illegally, yeah.
Illegal, which is this car is
it's an Uber, but it's also like a gangster car.
It's a lowrider with giant wheels.
Right, and then at the payoff is that, oh, it's also an Uber. And the guy driving it is like, hey, gotta make money any way you can.
Yeah.
It's damn, this is an Uber?
It's like, hell yeah.
That's so funny.
That's the thing, is that this movie is hilarious.
There's a lot of natural comedy in this movie.
Yes,
like,
this might be
the way the conversations. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but the way the conversations flow and the way the jokes come out, it feels all so easy.
Yes, and this is probably this is styled as a drama, a straightforward drama. The events that occur are almost entirely serious, not really somber, but they're serious. This is a movie
serious,
yeah, it's a movie that asks to be taken seriously. However, the characters act as they naturally would. I'm doing the review for the movie on the site, and one thing I'm trying to figure out how to word it is like, this movie kind of suggests that just because it's a drama doesn't mean that every single character has to be fucking miserable all the time.
Yeah. Right.
Because that seems to be what most dramas are. It's like, oh, I'm sad.
A lot of comedies have those aspects where there is drama in it.
Yeah.
And they know when to hit those beats, when to be serious, when to stop the joking and just, get real for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
This movie does that perfectly.
Because these are characters that are naturally funny and have human emotions and react in natural ways, but they still have their own sense of character as life. They've been best friends since age 11, so they have this very natural rapport, and they joke a lot, even in in some situations that might not need to be joked about, but they still make it work. But when scenes get very serious, the movie makes sure that it takes itself very seriously and drops the jokes for a minute so that we can feel these characters as they need to be.
Yeah. Exactly.
And that's one of the great things about this movie is it's balance. It's one of the most daringly diverse in terms of tone. Like, it is fearless in how it combines drama and comedy, not in a way where the writer was like, I want to make a drama with comedy elements, but it's like you said, it is all so natural and easy the way that these characters talk.
It almost feels like Do the Right Thing at a lot of times. I got a very heavy Spike Lee feeling from this movie, but to compare it directly to Spike Lee would kind of be doing it an injustice. Not to say that that's a bad comparison, but to say that that's the only comparison is incorrect. This movie very much is its own thing. This director, I forget the director's name, actually. I think is he a first-time director?
His first feature. He's done short films, but it's his feature.
Okay.
I'll look it up.
Okay, well, he did a fantastic job here. This is definitely his own vision, along with the writers and the producers of this project.
There's a lot of good style to it.
A lot of great framing, a lot of great setup and payoff in terms of the photography and the editing.
Yep. The split screen effect on a couple scenes is really good.
The split screen is really good, and it means something as well, especially the opening sequence. The opening sequence is a split screen that showcases the city of Oakland, and on one side, on occasion, we see images of what Oakland has been perceived to be in the past, or maybe the locals see it as, and on the other side of the screen is what it's being turned into.
Yeah, it's the old and the new.
It's the old and the new, and it flips. It doesn't always stay on its side of the screen. Sometimes it blends, sometimes it flips sides, sometimes it's both sides. And
yeah, it's a great way to kind of setting up in the first scene, in the first frames. That intro is a great way to illustrate how much this movie utilizes and embraces the character of Oakland. I would almost argue more so than Sorry to Bother You, not to drag those movies into the same lens again, but
again, it's kind of easy to do that, and it kind of feels appropriate too, considering how close they came out in terms of release. The
director was Carlos Lopez Estrada.
Okay, all right, yeah, that's what I remember, Estrada. When that was brought up, I was like, oh, Estrada.
What was the song that played during that opening scene? It wasn't like a rap song. It was like some kind of classical music, right? Or was it?
I want to say you're right about that, but I know what I wanted to say. Poetry and hip hop play a big part in this movie. Not so much in the soundtrack. It does in the soundtrack a little bit, but in Colin's world.
They'll start freestyling randomly.
They'll just start freestyling randomly about how things are, what they're feeling, what the setting's like, stuff like that. And the movie climaxes on a big epic freestyle. I don't want to give away anything about it, but it was really powerful and really good.
And I was reading I think it was the writer who mentioned that the reason that the lot of freestyling occurs in the film is to make that climax feel a little more natural.
Right. It feels natural. It feels expected too. That Colin would end the scenario that way. That he would make his point that way. And oh man, the movie. I posted on Facebook something about. There's an actor in the movie, Ethan Embry, who, if you know him, he was in Empire Records. He's been in a bunch of other films in the past. Yeah. But Empire Records, I think, is the one people know him most for, probably. At least I do. He plays a police officer in this movie that has a short confrontation with Colin that kind of haunts Colin throughout the rest of the film. Mm-hmm. And by the end of the movie, we kind of realize and start to feel all these different emotions for that cop. We feel disgusted and we feel sympathetic towards him at the same time. In a way, he's kind of also like a victim of the system as well as a perpetrator of the system. So it's kind of like, the movie kind of, I don't want to say blurs the line, but it does define the line and show that sometimes people can fall on either side or on both sides at the same time. Just like that opening montage showed the setting of Oakland as changing, and being very fluid.
Yes, and Wayne Knight also has a cameo, which I thought was pretty great.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He did. Newman from Seinfeld, Wayne Knight. He has a really good cameo appearance in this. And
it's like a 3-minute scene, and it means very little in the grand scheme of the story, but it kind of, again, it
kind of does mean something at the same time. He
just leads into the flavor of the movie.
Yeah, on the surface, it's just this one-off meeting that these guys have. They're in the scene. They're movers, and they're moving his art gallery out of his gallery. They're moving his paintings and pictures and stuff. And he has a moment where he stops them and says, "Hey, look at each other. Look into each other's eyes, and tell me what you see and feel." And then the camera, focuses on Colin, focuses on Miles in close-up. We see them looking at each other. And then they start playing around and horsing around afterwards, like, "Yo, man, you're starting to love me, man," or some shit like that, And they weren't taking it seriously. But then later in the movie, that kind of comes back into play when something happens and they're forced to confront each other once again. Except more seriously.
Well, it's part of the comedy in the initial one is where it's a straight comedy scenario where Wayne Knight's character is like, just look at each other. It's not a sexual thing. And then
they're like, "No, you're making it."
Miles is like, "Well, now you just made it a sexual thing by saying that."
That's another thing. Miles is very charismatic, and he's got a great personality, and he's also got great dialogue too. The guy just can spit fire,
Yeah. Again, what?
Spitting hot fire.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's good at that. He really
I don't want to spoil this for Ken, but Miles featured in a dream sequence early in the movie that is probably one of the best scenes of the whole film.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. I won't say anything else, but that was, I think at that point when I saw that in the first half hour of the movie, I was like, okay, here we are. Now I know I'm watching a great movie.
Yeah.
There was one more. One more scene that I wanted to just kind of like mention really quick because I want to share the good vibes I got from this scene with you. The salon scene where Miles.
Oh yeah. This really didn't have anything to do with the story proper. It was really more to showcase Miles's connection to the community.
Yeah, so they're at Colin's mom's house, and then Miles just kind of pokes his head in with a box of old hair straighters, like, "Hey, can I have these?" And then the next scene, he's at a local salon trying to sell them. And there's not
hair curlers,
hair curls and hair straighteners, and there's not really anything to this scene. But there's this awesome back and forth between him and the owner of the salon, and it shows, like you said, Miles is a very charismatic person. He's very good with words, and this is back and forth that almost feels like it's not a freestyle exchange like Colin and Miles have at other points in the movie, but it's styled as one, the way that it cuts back and forth between them. And they walk towards each other, and at times this movie is almost blocked like a musical. The way that characters move.
It does feel like that sometimes, yeah.
But that's mostly all I had to say about it. I don't think we spoiled too much, but we talked about it a lot.
I think we gave a good impression.
Yeah, it's a absolutely wonderful movie.
It's good to go onto this one in particular without knowing much about it, which is partially a good thing because the marketing didn't really give much away.
It gave a little bit away.
It gave a little bit, but not too much. Not enough to. I only saw that one scene where they're in the car and they're messing around with guns, and they're like, "Oh, this is an Uber," and I thought, "Oh, what's this movie going to be about?" Like, I wasn't sure, you know.
Last thing I want to say is that this is probably one of the most wholesome R-rated movies I've ever seen.
Wholesome's a good word.
I thought, I actually forgot this was rated R, and in the first scene, there's 5 N-words and about 7 to 10 F-bombs right away.
And someone gets shot in the first.
Someone gets shot eventually, yeah. And it's I forgot it was rated R, but it's also, this is a very, it doesn't seem like it, but it can be a very positive and uplifting movie, and it's all good vibes for the most part. But it almost feels like a faith-based film in terms of imparting a good message, but then everybody's cursing all the time. It's like an R-rated buddy comedy and a good feeling, quote unquote family film, just collide with each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kinda. Yeah. That's all I have to say about Blind Spotting.
All right. Well, with that said, then we'll go ahead and move on to Teen Titans Go to the movies.
Which I thought was, when I first saw the trailers for this, I thought it looked kind of funny. It's like, okay, they show the scene where there's the giant balloon monster and he gets poked in the butt and he starts, it makes the balloon sound of a balloon that's you're letting the air out of. As like, okay, I'll be honest, I chuckled at that in the trailer.
I gotta be honest, I did not. I thought it. Here's the thing: you're using a fart joke to sell your trailer. Well,
that was one scene in the trailer.
Yeah, it's one scene of the trailer, but it's the most prominent joke in the trailer. I thought it was really a poor decision to do because I hate unearned fart jokes, and the trailer didn't show me that it had been earned. Now that said, I don't feel the same way about the movie.
Did you think the joke was better in the movie?
Yes.
Okay.
I thought that the movie was far and away better than the trailer made it look like it was going to be. In fact, I consider this movie the funniest animated film I've seen this year.
I would agree, and I actually wanted to clarify my point is that I thought the trailer looked kind of funny, and then I proceeded to see the critics' reviews. Again, it had like a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
And a couple of critics say that it is at least on the level of subversion as Deadpool 2. Right. And having seen the movie, I can wholeheartedly agree with them and with you. This movie is an absolute riot. It's so funny.
The main thing I think that works so well about this movie is the fact that it does not for an instant take itself seriously. It just immerses itself in referential humor, just targeted directly at the heart of its own DC universe.
And it's so it's juvenile, but a lot of the juvenile jokes I found very funny because I can kind of remember that stuff. The villain is Slade Wilson, Deathstroke, played by Will Arnett, and his main thing that he does is his mind games. And his first mind game is he pulls out a pencil and he does the wobbly trick that kids would do in elementary school to make it look like it was rubbery.
And that's the thing. I know you said that the humor is juvenile, and I will agree, but I will also add to it that while it may be juvenile, they earn that in the movie by just mixing in for every juvenile joke there's these very deep references that are that make for some subtly brilliant satire against they're kind of biting the hand of the feet of the dog that feeds, of the man who feeds them, because just the DC universe shitting on itself.
Yeah, well, you got to understand, Lego Batman made a lot of money, so Warner Brothers was probably like, let's hire some comedy writers to do the same thing.
This outdoes Lego Batman, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Well, it's also worth, Will Arnett is actually the main credited producer on this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah. Which makes sense in having seen the movie, and then you see that name, you're like, okay, well, it's very similar. This is pretty much a companion piece to the Lego Batman movie in terms of the style of humor, and I sincerely hope that the comics-based Warner Brothers animation films, this becomes their MO, is just taking the piss on all of the DC universe and the Marvel universe, because there are jokes about Marvel as well, both subtle and obvious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there are jokes about Marvel, but I think it's painfully obvious that there's only so many jokes they can make at the expense of Marvel compared to themselves, and they focus mostly on themselves, and I think that's a good thing, because they need to admit that they've been fucking up for a little while.
Yeah, absolutely. But I also liked how it was kind of avant-garde in some respects with the humor. I have a couple of examples. Later on in the movie, Deathstroke tries to do his mind games again and tell Robin there's something on his shirt, and Robin's like, "Well, I'm not wearing a shirt," and all of a sudden he's bare-chested for no reason, and you get like 3 epic shots of this kid's chest. He's all bony and shit. This is literally stupid. And then at other moments, you have some really dark humor for a PG rated movie, like where I mentioned this to my friend and she was like, "This is PG." And
the main characters in this movie are basically assholes.
So somebody pointed out, and I mentioned this on the chat, is that Teen Titans Go, both the show and the movie, is basically It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia for kids.
I can definitely see that.
And the show, I actually watched a few episodes of the show, and it's the same way. Like, there's even less heroics in the show. They never have to go out and save somebody. Even at one point, Starfire and Raven, they break a female supervillain out of prison so they can have a girls' night out, and lead the police on this citywide destruction spree, and then they themselves also get thrown in prison at the end. And it ends with all 3 of them breaking out again for a girls' night out part 2. In another episode, Robin gets powers for some reason I can't remember, and then he breaks up with the Teen Titans and grows old, and then while he's on his deathbed, Raven is like, "I told you, powers were a curse," and then the episode just ends.
Damn.
So, like, you can definitely see that they were workshopping a lot of this weird kind of dark humor in the show before they got to the movie. And it's not like the movie is just a sudden shift into more daring humor. The show actually is like that quite often.
See, I had only heard the name of the show before. I had no idea what this show was about. So,
well, I guess we didn't even really talk about the plot of the movie.
There is none.
Kind of. I mean, Robin wants a movie made about him, and
that's it.
And that's it.
Yes, Robin wants a movie made about him, and he kind of sort of breaks up with his friends for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That's it. And it doesn't matter. This is not a movie that's about the plot. This is a series of very well executed jokes, and I applaud them for doing that. Because, frankly, there's been a little too much plot in the DC universe lately. I think maybe moving into something a little bit more basic and just, jokey, that's
right.
worth it. Well,
you have not seen the Shazam trailer, right?
I have not seen it, but I'm familiar with. I've heard enough people talk about it that I know what it's about.
So yeah, I think in regards to what you just said, I think Shazam also signals a more light and jokey approach to the DC universe, because the Shazam trailer looks very 90s and very silly and quite. At first, I was like, Zachary Levi as Shazam. Then after watching the trailer, I was like, okay, I get what they're going for. This is going to be a wacky movie. So I like that this is kind of. I hope that this means that DC Universe is going to be a lot more lighthearted going forward. And it looks like a different sort of flavor of comedy than the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is good because the next thing that I'm afraid of DC doing is copying the Marvel formula.
Yeah. The thing is, I think they were kind of trying a bit to copy the Marvel formula with Justice League, and the fact that kind of blew up in their face.
Well, the problem is that they started copying the Marvel formula halfway when the movie was fucking done.
Right.
And they're like, oh, let's go back and re-edit the whole thing for an extra $100 million. And one of my favorite statistics, I'm probably misquoting it, one of my favorite statistics is that Black Panther made more money in its first 2 weeks than Justice League made in its entire theatrical run.
Right.
Which is embarrassing, frankly. And again, I really, really do feel sorry that was the outcome of that movie, because I wish Zack Snyder had the control over his movie to make a really good movie, but he didn't, and it wasn't. And I mean, I guess the effect is that we're now getting better DC movies.
Right.
But it's a shame that he had to be the sacrificial lamb, as it were, for us to get better DC movies.
The sacrificial lamb. He probably would have appreciated that, considering all the biblical references in his previous efforts.
He probably loves that.
It's like, I get to be the lamb? Awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
Does the lamb lift, bro?
Teen Titans is, I don't know if there's much else to say about it. It's funny. It's really wacky. It's got the same kind of tone as Lego Batman. It's a little less of the importance of family type thing, because there's not really any theme. It's a 90-minute movie about these characters screwing around. In fact, the last scene of the movie, I don't know if I want to spoil it, but the last line of dialogue in the movie is hilarious, to the point where the mother, I was next to a mother and her 3 kids, and she was laughing as hard as I was. And with this last scene, or this last line, she absolutely lost it. And it just kind of goes to show that this movie's objective is to just goof off. Mm-hmm. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I think we could use more movies like that, especially when they're as cleverly built as this one is.
Yeah, I agree. I just don't have that much else to say other than I enjoyed it, because I want people to see this, and it did okay this weekend, but nothing crazy, and I think this is a movie that needs to do crazy business.
I can't imagine it was made for much, though.
I think it was made for about $10 million, and it made about $10 million. So
yeah, the budget was $10 million. So that's
yeah.
And it as of now, I believe it's made almost 12. So that's good, I guess.
Probably it's marketing,
right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, so all that said, tell us about Three Identical Strangers.
The movie, or just Three Identical Strangers?
Do you know Three Identical Strangers? Because that'd be interesting too.
Not completely identical, but I could probably name 3 people that I think look alike.
Well, we got Tom Hardy and Logan Marshall Green.
Yes, that's 2.
It all comes in 3, so we're waiting for this last guy to be like, you know what? I don't like farming. I'm going to join Hollywood.
It has to be the same profession.
Yeah.
Okay, so Three Identical Strangers, this documentary. I don't think I've seen a documentary that has made me feel this way in the same way as a documentary by the name of Capturing the Freedmans.
Okay.
If you've ever seen that documentary, it's about. It starts off originally. The production was supposed to be about a guy who's like a clown, for kids. You know, it's supposed to be like a short documentary about him. But then they dug a little deeper into his family and found this whole backstory of molestation and this archive of home videos, and that reveal like all sorts of emotional and sordid elements, and it became this really deeply heartbreaking family drama. I haven't seen a film since then until Three Identical Strangers that hit me quite that way until Three Identical Strangers. If I'm wording this appropriately, I don't know. I'm kind of in a daze right now, so I'm trying to put my words together in a way that sound like sentences.
John, you're doing all right.
I'm doing okay. Okay, all right, good. For those who don't know, I was compared to Joseph Goebbels earlier in an email regarding an article I wrote. So I'm kind of reeling from being completely 100% baffled.
It's Godwin's law. Eventually, the Nazis are going to be referred to.
Yes. Okay, so this movie,
or not, and it is not in your case. So.
Yeah, this documentary is about the incredible case of three identical strangers who discovered that they were twins, adopted from the same adoption organization in New York. In the late 1970s is when they discovered this. It started at a college where one of the students there, who was just starting as a freshman, was being called another name by other students. And he was like, why are they calling me this name? And he realizes, after some talking with other people, that there's another guy that looks just like him and was born on the same day and all these other coincidences. So their story comes out. It was a nice little feel-good story. Oh, twins find each other. Only to discover there's a third in the same radius that was of the adoption agency and all of this other stuff.
Wow.
So they become kind of a like almost like a fad in a way. They become like celebrities, the three of them. They start their own restaurant called Triplets. They go on television shows and talk about how alike they are. They
was the Triplets restaurant as good as Wahlburgers?
I have no idea. They don't really get into the restaurant too much, but they do show them partying a lot, which they did. They did a lot of, they basically were making up for lost time, because they found each other in the late teens, and now they want to be a family again, a family they never got a chance to be. And, it's kind of, nice to see, obviously. But then the movie takes a very hard turn and a twist when I'm not going to reveal exactly what it was, but there's something behind the adoption agency and their reasoning for placing and separating the twins, the triplets.
Is this a Menendez Brothers situation?
Is this a what?
Menendez Brothers situation?
No, it's not. It's not that dark. I mean, it does get dark, but it's not quite that level. It's more like a psychological thing. It's more experimentation. That's about as far as I want to take it. I think you guys just need to see the documentary, but it goes to places once that twist occurs, that turn occurs. It goes into like this investigative place where the documentarians are just absolutely intrigued by these developments, and it's kind of unfolding before their very production. It's almost as if they didn't realize that there was more to the story than just these triplets found each other and that was that. That's all they wanted to leave it at. It's almost like maybe they knew a little bit about like a hint of something deeper, but they're experiencing it almost as the audience is experiencing it. That's what it feels like when watching this movie. And it's kind of a revelation in a way. Not just, the actual revelation. It's revelatory what goes down. And it's sad when we see the results of all this. And it's at the same time, it's kind of fascinating and enlightening what ends up occurring, but it's just very sad. Kind of makes you infuriated too. You know that it went down the way it did, and what happened to the brothers ultimately. And you know, they're, I mean, from what I understand, they're still family, but you know what they ended up going through later in life, you know, was pretty rough for anyone. And knowing that certain steps could have been taken earlier in their lives that other people knew about that could have prevented certain things from happening makes it all the more, you know, anger inducing. It's like, well, dude, you guys could have changed their complete history if you had just stuck them together, or if you had done this, or you had done that, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, it's this movie about orchestration, like playing with puppet strings, sort of.
Mhm.
Whether you want to compare it to that or you want to compare it to the greater good of humanity, is really up to your morality standards. You know, like do you believe in, you know, the greater demands of science, or do you believe in having a human touch, or do you think there are just some lines you shouldn't cross? You know, like you're toying with with something beyond our, you know, understanding. Damn it, you know, stuff like that. You know, it really goes to those places, and it's kind of frightening at times. You know, how it goes to those places, and it kind of handles it in a, not in a caring way, but the movie is vastly intrigued by all of this and wants the brothers to be a part of the conversation. So it's like I said before, it's all kind of unfolding as the production is going along, and that plays a big part in our understanding of what is happening, because it's almost like edge of your seat, you know.
Yeah.
So I would, without going too much or any farther, really, because I think you guys just need to see it. I would highly recommend this film. I think it kind of hit me too, because I am a twin brother. I have a twin brother. We're fraternal, but we're still twins, and we have a lot of similarities to us. And I have a third brother who I've been compared to often, and we kind of look alike, you know, in a way too. He's older than me, but we are similar in a lot of ways too. So it kind of hit me on that level as well. And yeah, it's emotional. It's mind-boggling. It's infuriating.
Well,
It's
I actually have a friend I might want to introduce to this movie, just because my friend has he has, first of all, he has a close bond with his brother, who, well, he's not a twin with. Oftentimes people have confused the two, and he also has a third brother who he's only really reconnected with very, very recently, sort of a half brother.
yeah.
And you know, it sounds to me like it being a story about family, that you know, close bonds sort of would connect it.
Yeah, but it's not just about that. I mean, those are the things that I'm hitting on because that's what I kind of related to big time with this film. But and I think most people would as well. But it also gets into deeper questions about, you know, where the line is between science and morality, whether or not we should do certain things.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, I'm probably spoiling way too much about this, but I don't think I've given too many specifics. So it's not like it gets into like some weird, you know, like mutations or, you know, we're going to make a man fish or something
Jurassic
like that.
World, Three Identical Strangers.
Yeah, right. I think someone made that comparison recently. Like someone actually thought that would be kind of a funny meme. But I think I saw that somewhere. I don't. If not, it should be. But no, it does go to places that you don't expect, and when it gets there, it's the results are kind of frightening and disturbing, and you get upset when you learn about it. You don't know really how to feel other than you're upset. You're emotional, and you feel for the brothers, you know. And it goes into like, do we have a choice in life? or is it nature versus nurture? Is it, which one wins out ultimately? And that's some heavy stuff. That's heavy, man. That's heavy, bro.
Wait, was that supposed to be cocaine?
No, that was supposed to be weed.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I was.
I heard cocaine as well.
Yeah, maybe because I was slurping a little bit with my lips.
Yeah,
I had a little bit of spittle on my lip.
That's not how you smoke weed.
That's how I smoke weed. Yeah,
or maybe it is. I don't know. Like some people, different strokes for different folks. I guess.
I guess it's better to do like a bong sound, like like I can't do it, but it's. I can't do the water boiling sound, like. I think that's what it's supposed to be more like, But if you do the smoking a joint sound, it sounds like you're snorting, or at least it sounds like I'm snorting. Maybe when I do it, I'm doing it wrong. I don't know, but maybe that just shows that I just don't do drugs. So there you go.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yes, doesn't mean I'm better than you.
You get high on life, Bill.
Yes,
and that's whatever sound you want it to be.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm gonna start making Christian videos for kids to understand life lessons.
I just
like dare, but it actually works.
That made me laugh so hard I tooted. I honked. Three identical strangers.
Mission Impossible Fallout.
I did not get to see this. I'm sorry.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will see it. I've seen the other movies. I love. I'm a big Mission Impossible. Not a big Mission Impossible fan, but I love the movies. I appreciate them and everything. But
this is a good motherfucking action flick.
That's what I keep hearing. Oh my god. Just the fucking Halo jump. I saw that behind the scenes featurette. That made me appreciate stunt work and choreography even more so than I already do.
I saw that same featurette, and yeah, that was good.
That was something, but it confused me because when I heard about what the purpose of it was in the story, I was like, why did they have to do that? Couldn't they just used fake passports?
Yeah, they could have.
Okay.
To show the Halo jump.
But it wouldn't have been a Mission Impossible. It would have been Mission kind of convenient.
Improbable?
What if that was like the Mission Impossible? Like, what if that's like the next? That would be a great premise for a TV show where, like, a Mission Impossible style thing, where it's like, we need to get into this country and do this thing. It's like, all right, well, we have your passports, but fuck that. We're gonna do a Halo jump instead. And like they think of the most ludicrous way to accomplish something, and they do that instead.
It's unconscionable.
Right. They're just wasting taxpayer money.
Like, all right, boys, we have $2 billion of taxpayer money budget this year, and we're going to use it.
We have to use it, otherwise we won't get it in the budget for next year.
We won't get it next year.
So what do we do with it?
Yeah, exactly.
Mission Impossible time.
Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, dun, dun. I always think of the Limp Bizkit version of the song.
Yeah.
Now I know why you want to hate me.
Fucking Fred Durst. Isn't he directing something again this year?
He directs stuff all the time. It's just no one watches this shit.
He also makes movies that nobody would think Fred Durst would direct. It's like,
he directed a Jesse Eisenberg bully movie. Like a movie about bullying. That was weird.
He made the Long Shots, the little children's football movie with Ice Cube.
Yeah.
The inspirational family drama.
Fred Durst, the same guy who says he does it for the nookie. Come on, the nookie.
Okay, so I just Googled Fred Durst, and the first thing that comes up is a Jalopnik article. Let's take a minute to appreciate Fred Durst's Instagram.
No.
Why?
Maybe it's a good Instagram. I don't know.
I'm looking it up to find out what
to verify. To verify for your own eyes. That's a Mission Impossible. Right
listen to this. Fred Durst's Instagram is entirely full of old station wagons. It's like the whole damn thing. Durst counts the days, and it says pictures of station wagons.
Counts the days to what? What's he counting down to?
I don't know, but everything is a station wagon.
The Rapture?
Durst wrestles with personal torment. It's just a picture of a station wagon, and Fred Durst says, "It's late. We shouldn't."
It's late. We shouldn't deal with station wagons tonight.
Wow, he must be really into station wagons.
Oh, I almost forgot. Yes, Fred Durst's next movie is called Moose. It's about a rabid film fan stalks his favorite action hero and destroys the star's life. And it stars John Travolta as a possibly impaired, very dysfunctional person.
Is he the movie star, or is he the guy that ruins the dude's life?
Based on the picture, he looks like the guy that ruins the dude's life because he's kind of he's got a you just got to look it up. I can't really describe it. It's hard to describe, but John Travolta looks like, I don't know. He's got this like Simple Jack look about him with a Hawaiian shirt and a backpack. And I say Simple Jack with as much political reference as I can because he looks like the character in the Ben Stiller spoof movie.
Tropic Thunder, yeah, right.
Yeah, in Tropic Thunder, the fake movie in Tropic Thunder.
Fred Durst. It's like, Kevin Smith's making Moose Jaws, maybe. I'm going to make Moose.
Subtract a word, it's a whole different movie.
Yeah, it's a whole different movie. And then Kevin Smith has a heart attack and turns his life around.
Wow, that's actually, when you think about that, that's kind of makes a lot of sense.
What has Kevin Smith said that he's what has he done?
Well, I don't think he's turned his. I don't know turning his life. I mean, I know he's on a diet. I know he's exercising. Yeah. He's trying to live his best life, which I think is very good.
Yeah, very
health wise, I think
he'll go a little while without weed, and he'll realize that he's a better screenwriter when he's not high.
Although I think he's still going to make Jay and Silent Bob reboot, but.
And by the way, that's not to say that there are some screenwriters who actually are better when they're high. But
he's not one of them, right?
Yeah, but didn't he tweet out that he finished the Clerks 3 script like 5 years ago?
Yeah,
he did, and then he did a podcast saying it's not going to happen.
Oh, that's too bad.
My guess,
I think it's because of Jeff Anderson. He doesn't want to do the movie.
Oh, okay. Because Clerks 2, I would argue Clerks 2 is better than Clerks 1.
I love Clerks 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Jeff Anderson, I mean, the only reason he did Clerks 2 was he believed in the script. Jeff Anderson's been very plain about that. And so if I had to guess, he probably does not believe in
Clerks 3, yeah.
Because Clerks 3 probably has a fucking part with the old guy from Red State and Tusk where he does something crazy and gross.
Yeah.
He visits the convenience store and he's talking all Canadian, you know. He's like, you remember that scene where we're in what was it? In Tusk, when Michael Park, who is dead, he was passed on unfortunately.
Oh, has he?
Yeah, Michael Parks. He had a scene with Johnny Depp where Johnny Depp was interviewing locals about the serial killer in town, and Michael Parks is of course a serial killer, but to cover his tracks, he's coming off as if he's a dumb Saskatchewan or something, and he's like, yeah, well, I'm a Saskatchewan. He's doing like a voice thing and everything, like to make it sound like he's not, you know. And the scene's going on for like 10 minutes. And it's just dragging, and it's painful. Imagine that with Randall. I mean, goodness, Randall would not have that patience. He'd call the guy a fucker or he'd spit in his face or something, you know.
Right?
Yeah.
I have to give Jeff Anderson credit though, because it's not like he's a huge celebrity who can pick and choose his roles, but he's been very overtly, against doing other, Clerks related things unless he actually liked what it was about. And
yeah, good on him for that, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
Fallout.
The fallout of the Mission Impossible.
I really, really, really enjoyed this movie.
Yes. Cool. I agree wholeheartedly.
You agree that Hawk enjoyed it?
I do.
We've established this privately.
Okay.
I agree completely that he enjoyed this. No. Here's the thing about Fallout is I will say that it was overhyped. Definitely overhyped.
Yeah.
A little bit.
The action stunt set pieces completely live up to that overhype. The plot and character development is it's the same Mission Impossible that you know and barely remember from the last film. But
what was the I just thought of a comparison movie where the trailers were like, oh, this will change everything. And you watch the movie and you're like, well, it didn't. You just try to make it seem like it would.
Right.
What I'm trying to think of what was the last movie that did that kind of thing?
This changes everything. The Avengers Infinity War? I don't know.
Nah.
Yeah, I would say that.
Infinity War did change a lot.
It did, but it was hyping it. Like, if that's what we're talking.
I mean, that ending was definitely ballsy, especially for Marvel Disney.
Until the inevitable movie where it resurrects everyone.
And fixes the problem, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. That's not the movie I was thinking of, though. It might have been a Marvel movie where the trailers hint at something a lot darker, and the movie is like, comic books. It might have been Avengers 2.
Oh, Age of Ultron. Yeah, okay.
Ultron, man, that guy fucks shit up. He's gonna real asshole. It's gonna be a crazy movie with bad stuff happening. And then it's James Spader making fucking jokes because Joss Whedon lives through him. This movie is not quite that, but it's similar, like Ken was saying, where it is the trailers frame it as a big game changer for characters and events, and it's still Mission Impossible.
And here's the thing. I don't mind the Mission Impossible movies despite that. It's just that there's really not, every time this happens, people say, it's gonna, it's out James Bonding James Bond, and it's transcendent, and I mean, it's good. It's very good, in fact.
Yeah, but it kind of did out James Bond because real talk, fuck Spectre.
Yeah, I will say that. I will say fuck Spectre, but in general, the reason why the James Bond movies have held up so well. And I think Mission Impossible is bordering on doing this, but they do need to definitely they need to figure out a way to make the films stand on their own in a strong way and feel unique. The problem I have with these Mission Impossible movies is I think back about the last 3 films, and I conflate them all the time. There's events that happen in one that I swear happen in another.
I'm a little bit better about that, although 5 is Rogue Nation is kind of a big blur for me. I don't know why people keep saying that's one of the best ones, because I thought it was fun but unmemorable. Like Ghost Protocol was the big one for me before Fallout. Yeah. The Burj Khalifa and Tom Cruise runs away from a freaking sandstorm. Like Brad Bird made the shit out of that movie. And then it had the bad guy was the girl with a dragon tattoo guy, the Swedish version.
That character was actually my biggest problem with that movie. Not that it was bad casting, but they made him out to be like a superhero villain with powers. Yeah, he would magically appear over here, and then he would run as fast as Tom Cruise, if not faster. And I was like, is this guy on ketamine? What the hell?
Nah, he's just Swedish.
Oh, okay. They have better healthcare.
They do.
They do have better healthcare, but that's the reason.
Yes.
Not as good as the Finns, though.
I don't know. Apples and oranges? I don't know. Apples and apples?
Scandinavians and Scandinavians.
Oh, okay.
Depends on what region the apples are grown on.
A slightly different cultural group.
Slightly different.
But no, you make a good point. It's like the Mission Impossible. So the Mission Impossibles kind of bleed together plot-wise and things that happen, but every movie has had its own specific style to it. And that's been Tom Cruise's thing. Like, he's the main producer on the series. His thing has always been new director for every movie with a different style for every movie. Now, Fallout is the first film to have the same director as the previous one, Chris McQuarrie. And however, with him coming back to direct this one for this first time, a director returning to direct the second sequential movie in the franchise, he actually did so under condition that he would make the movie feel stylistically different from Rogue Nation. Like that was actually a stipulation of the agreement. He would have to kind of tweak the style to make it seem different than, so you'd still get the sense that it was a different director, which I thought was interesting. And I think he mostly nails it. It does feel different from Rogue Nation in terms of style and tone.
McQuarrie kind of upped his game a little bit.
Yeah, this is the first movie that actually really delves a little bit more, not into Ethan Hunt's past, but into him as a character. It's established very early on and mentioned several times that he has almost a complete inability to, I don't want to say
to
this.
let go of his work life, basically.
Well, not even that. It's more profound than that. Like he cares about people. Like if he cares for somebody, he really does care for them to the point where
saying that he cares too much.
To the point that he cares too much. Like, you know, in early scene, this is mentioned in the trailers. He lets some plutonium get stolen because he saves the life of his friend. He saves his friend at the expense of losing the plutonium, and that's his thing. Is that if he knows somebody and cares about them, that's everything to him.
Mm-hmm.
It's one person over millions.
It reminds me a lot of Star Trek: The Wrath of Khan, where in The Wrath of Khan, the major plot point about that is, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. And then in the sequel, Search for Spock, the argument that Shatner's character makes is sometimes, sometimes the needs of the few might, be just as important. And it's kind of an interesting conundrum. And, they kind of go for that in this, where they're saying that, yes, it's important to consider, the greater good, but if that's at the expense of treating people like statistics, that there's something to be said for focusing on, the people around you and making sure that they're okay too.
Yeah. Bill, when you see this movie, I know that you have the AMC Movie Pass A-list pass.
AMC Stubs A-list.
Yeah.
What if Movie Pass goes under and AMC just dumps their program altogether?
Oh, they have a 12-month price guarantee. I think that counts. That they're kind of on the hook for a year.
Right, but what if that expires and they're like, yeah, we're not doing this anymore?
Well, then I'll do the same thing I did for the first 26 years of my life and pay to see movies.
Yeah.
It's what I'm getting at, Bill, is see this in IMAX.
Okay.
Or
see it in IMAX or see it in Dolby. Like the finale of this movie, I won't reveal all of the moving parts of this finale, but it is absolutely nuts. And the helicopter chase in the trailer is a spectacle on a huge screen. Like I was literally sweating. It's an extremely exciting climax, and seeing it in a premium format with IMAX and the good speakers is really something that I plan to experience one more time at least.
Oh wow! Okay.
This is this year's Fury Road in terms of action.
Wow, that's really and Fury Road was like an orchestra.
I would not. I'd say this is not an orchestra, but it's because it's not quite as because Fury Road was just full tilt mayhem nonstop, and this is not that. But the level of action and the care put into it is kind of on that same level.
It's stylistically a
designed to be that way, but we can diminish the effects of it.
Yes, it's an advance from the other Mission Impossible movies because it actually does seem to have a specific style. It actually reminds me a lot of the first Jack Reacher movie, where there's a distinct directorial style to it, which of course we're dealing with the same director here, and it makes it feel really unique. And then the sequel comes, and you wonder what changed.
A lack of style.
Yeah, it's it just doesn't feel as fresh in the second go around. And
Tom kind of made it work a little bit. It's still an okay movie. Never go back, but Like that bit at the end, the climax where they're on top of the French Quarter rooftops, and he just breaks the guy's neck with his fists.
He like breaks his everything, and then he's like, "Look at me."
The guy's like struggling to look at him. That was cool.
He like kills the shit out of that guy. That was probably the only good part in that movie.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah,
a lot of it did not make sense either.
I think the big difference is Edward Zwick is a journeyman filmmaker who I think is very capable of making solid movies, but he doesn't have a distinctive, like, dynamic style that sets him apart from other filmmakers. He's just Zwick is a lot like, say, Philip Noyce. Very good director, but not an auteur, if you get my meaning.
I guess you could say that his filmmaker could be Neusser.
I knew that was coming, and I didn't stop you.
Yeah, thank you.
You know there was a trailer for Nobody's Fool, the Tyler Perry movie, and there's a scene in that trailer, a clip where Tiffany Haddish has turned it up by 5,000%, and she's like, "This place is nice."
Like, do animals even have glitter?
This is a Care Bear. I was like, okay, you're just speaking through your skull now. I mean,
I kind of want to see that movie because I'm starting to wonder if Tyler Perry is starting to key into why people outside of his normal fan base are watching his movies. Where it's like, if a Tyler Perry movie comes out and it's like, yeah, this is gonna be a real piece of shit, and I'm probably gonna go watch it. Where he's starting to like understand that he has a separate subset of built-in audience members that see his movies for an entirely different reason, and is just going to just fucking go all out in making his movies as dumb as possible. Because I refuse to believe that he is making this movie and be like, yes, I'm making a fun movie for my fans.
I like that mode of voice that you picked. Yeah. Yes, I am making a film. A film for families to watch.
Like, I'm surprised that Tyler Perry hasn't come up with his own verbiage for, like, Spike Lee has like a Spike Lee joint. And if the movie's not as good, it's a Spike Lee film.
Oh yeah, right.
Like he does both. Like I'm waiting for Tyler Perry to like come up with his new word for his movies.
A Tyler Perry thing. I can't think of a good word.
A Tyler Perry experience.
Oh no, I wouldn't call it.
Because it is.
It is an experience, but that would the Medea films? What would those be? A Tyler Perry.
Well, speaking as somebody, along with Ken, who has marathoned Medea movies, I can safely call them an experience. Not a good one, but it's an experience.
In quotations, a Tyler Perry experience.
I wouldn't even put it in quotation. It's a fucking experience. Ken, can you back me up on this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like your arms are in the air. Yeah.
Yes.
It is. I honestly can't even remember all the movies that we watched. We watched Witness Protection and
Witless Protection.
Medea Goes to Jail and what else did we watch that week, Ken?
The Day of Halloween? Or
no, I don't think we watched Halloween because I had already seen the first one and the second one hadn't come out, or maybe I already seen it or something.
Oh shit! I just realized I could have made another Noise joke. Damn.
Nice.
I could have said you're like Quiet Riot. You come on.
Yeah.
Ken, what were the other Medea movies that we watched that week? On
Medea Gets Ass Cancer.
Oh, come on.
No, seriously. We watched Witness Protection. We watched I think we watched Goes to Jail.
We watched Goes to Jail, Witness Protection, the Christmas one.
Oh, we did watch the Christmas one?
Yeah, with Carrie the Label Guy.
Yeah. Let's see.
Carrie the label guy. What?
Yeah, no, Larry the Cable Guy's in this movie. He plays the white guy's dad, who's like, "Bro, Christians and family and stuff, Christmas and the town."
He plays Larry the Cable Guy, is what he plays.
Yeah, he literally plays.
Like always.
He doesn't do anything else. Yeah.
Has he ever played anyone else?
Did you say Carrie Elwes?
He said Carrie the label guy.
Oh, doesn't Carrie Elwes?
Oh, okay. And what was the other one? It was trying to remember now because now I have to remember.
For Colored Girls, I don't know. Was Medea in that?
That's not a Medea movie.
Did you mean to say that Carrie Elwes joke or like...
No, I literally thought that's what you said because I was like, no, it wasn't Carrie Elwes. It was Chad Michael Murray.
Oh, okay.
Michael Murray.
I thought for a moment that doesn't Carrie Elwes, and I'm like, yes, Carrie does Elwes.
I thought you almost said.
Didn't you watch Medea's Family Reunion?
Yes, we did.
Which I remember literally nothing about whatsoever. I remember not a second from that movie.
Yeah.
What about I Can Do Battle by Myself? Is that a Medea movie?
We made a conscious health decision to not watch that one.
Like it would have been a stone too far?
Yes.
If that's
several stones.
If that's a word, a phrase, I don't know.
A bridge too far?
A bridge too far, yes. Okay, that's better. I don't know why I thought stone. Stone's throw, perhaps? I don't know.
Stone's throw. That stone has been thrown too far.
The gauntlet has been thrown down.
Way too deep.
Way too deep.
Into the ground.
In Medea's ass.
I'm bringing that up. Is there anything else to talk about for Mission Impossible?
I honestly, no.
It's a thrill picture, right? Like it's thrills.
Yeah, it's really well directed action. There's a brilliant car chase in Paris. There's a really good rooftop chase in London.
Yeah.
Henry Cavill's mustache was worth it for the most part.
Yeah. The funny thing is his beard had zero to do, like, there was no reason for him to have the stash in the beard other than to just say fuck you to the producers of Justice.
Well, I think there is a characteristic reason for him having the mustache. It's distinguishable. It's a marker.
Yeah, I mean, it's not Superman, and also he had the mustache as a character before Justice League started reshoots. It wasn't like, hey, I'm Joss Whedon and I'm reshooting Justice League. Can I have Henry Cavill? And then and then Paramount's like, hey, Henry Cavill, here's some beard oil. Grow this fucking beard because fuck Joss Whedon.
Some beard oil.
And you know what? This is a spoiler, but I just have to say it. I do have one criticism about Mission Impossible that I do maintain is really problematic.
So don't spoil exactly what you're about to say, because I know what you're about to say.
Yeah. Well, okay. It's pretty basic. Is that you will know who turns out to be the turncoat immediately. It's not. They don't even make the slightest tacit attempt to hide it.
It's funny you should say that, because I was invested enough in this movie that I guessed a similar thing, but not that exact outcome. I thought that the twist would be something slightly different.
The only thing that fooled me was when the twist happened. Before the twist happened, I was thinking in my mind, this is too fucking obvious. They're not going to be this obvious, because that would be awful. And then they did it, and I was like, yeah, that was exactly as awful as I predicted it would be if they did that.
What, they reveal it's Tiffany Haddish?
Well, it disappointed me that they just went for such a fucking obvious...
Tiffany Haddish from Nobody's Fool. She shows up.
Hey, guys, I'm a terrorist.
I'm a terrorist, and I'm nice.
and you're Philip Noyce.
Yes, I'm Philip Noyce.
Last thing on the movie. The pacing is very good. This movie is like, what, 150 minutes or something like that?
Does it feel that way?
Absolutely not. It feels like I feel like it's maybe an hour long. Like after the movie was over, it rushed by.
Agreed. It is one of the speediest 2.5 hour movies I can think of. I was doing a lot of research on this, trying to find another 2.5, give or take, 10 or so minutes long movie, and the only comparison I could come up with, as far as like an action movie that just does not let up and is compelling throughout, was Aliens, the director's cut.
Yeah. But I can't, like you said, I cannot think of anything else. Like, this is an extremely snappy movie in terms of the pacing. Like, there's not a moment where you feel like I've been sitting here for 2 hours or anything like that. It's just
right.
It does what it's got to do. It does it in 2.5 hours, and when you get out of the movie, it's 2.5 hours later, and you don't feel like that time has passed.
And by the way, I am nothing if not patient, because, as an example, last week I watched the 4 hour long Cleopatra movie.
Why?
Because I'd never seen it before. And
okay.
It was, at the time, it was notoriously like the biggest, like, it actually, to this day, even though it's not the biggest big budget bomb of all time, what it does have that is still an unbroken record is it's the only movie to ever top the box office for the year and still not be able to turn a profit.
Right, I remember you saying that.
That is fucking pathetic. They clearly made the movie for too much money at that point. I mean,
well, if you think you have patience now, just wait till you watch Abel Gance's Napoleon on Blu-ray. The 5.5, or maybe it's a 6 hour cut now, and it's a silent film.
Oh my god!
I got the Blu-ray.
I thought Dreams was boring.
I ordered this movie from what's the BPI or British Film? Oh, BFI, British Film Institute.
What would P stand for?
I don't know. I don't know
British
why I thought
Penis Institute.
British Pictures Institute. I don't know. I don't know why I thought BPI. Maybe because of BP. I don't know. But no, it's I haven't seen it yet because I don't have a Blu-ray player that can support Region B yet. I don't have a region-free Blu-ray player, and I'm actually looking for any kind of tips and tricks for codes and whatnot.
So what break the region encoding on your Blu-ray player?
Yes, exactly.
There are ways to do that, to MacGyver your Blu-ray player, and it is a lot cheaper than buying a region-free player.
But if I have to buy one, I'll buy one. But
I will say, because the one thing is, prices haven't dropped on region-free players. They've dropped on,
players within the region. Yeah.
You can expect to pay $100 to $150 for a region-free Blu-ray player, and if you want a decent one, you don't want to skimp, because the problem is if you have a shitty Blu-ray player, something could go bad, and you've blown your money, or worse yet, you might lose. A Blu-ray might get damaged in the process.
How bad?
Could be severely bad. Yeah, but
how bad are we talking with things going bad?
Well, he just laid it out.
It doesn't work.
Like, I want more information though.
And if you spend, like, let me put it this way: spend $150 for one that's not going to break down on you, or spend $70 on one that will break down on you within a year, and then you'll have to spend another $70.
Yeah, that's true. Yes.
Yeah. But
rumor has it that Denis Villeneuve's next film is going to be a Cleopatra remake.
Oh, I thought it was going to be Dune.
It's before Dune. But I think they switched it back again, where he's like, no, I'm making Dune first instead.
Well, the one thing is that the Cleopatra story has been told many times, and it's always told in completely unique ways. I will credit Hollywood with that.
Let the dude who did fucking the Ben-Hur remake do the Cleopatra remake.
My favorite adaptation is actually
yeah, why not?
The HBO TV series Rome did that in a nutshell in the final season of, 2 seasons of the show. There were 2 seasons of the show total. But yeah, in the second season, basically reenacted the story of Anthony and Cleopatra, and it's really good. And this 4-hour one, by the way, it's really long. That's all I have to say about that movie.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah, and I love a good long movie, so that's not a good review from me. I'm someone who sat through. I sat through all the David Lean movies, and even the one that people say is the most boring, Ryan's Daughter. I fucking loved. Beginning to end. And I can see how people might call it boring, but I don't think it is. So.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway.
So next week, we have...
what is coming out? Yeah.
We have Darkest Minds, which is basically X-Men, I think. Death of a Nation. It's the new Dinesh D'Souza.
I'm not touching that with a 50-foot pole.
Yeah, apparently it compares Donald Trump to Abraham Lincoln, and we'll leave it at that.
It's
Christopher Robin.
Maybe.
I don't know. I'm
isn't it written by Alex Ross Perry?
I am absolutely seeing Christopher Robin. I don't whether it's good or not. I don't know, but I will be seeing it because I just love Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, I love Winnie the Pooh too.
I think it's co-written by Alex Ross Perry, who is a filmmaker in his own right. He did The Color Wheel. He did the recent Golden Exits.
Oh, okay.
Any relation to Refrigerator Perry?
There might be. You never know. Or no, not Tyler Perry. I think this guy's a better filmmaker.
Or the band Perry.
Because
I'm speechless.
Didn't who wrote the Alex Cross series?
Oh,
James Patterson?
I don't know. Maybe.
All I know is you don't cross him.
Yeah, you don't cross Alex Cross.
James Patterson. Yeah, I thought for some reason I thought Ross Patterson, who did Helen Keller and versus Nightwolves. So I was like, oh, Alex Ross Perry. Alex Cross is written by Ross Patterson and directed by.
No, Alex Ross Perry is an independent filmmaker.
Wait, no, is the Bone Collector? That's also it, or is it? No, is it? No, it's Along Came a Spider. That is. I conflate those movies. That's because there's another Alex Cross movie that came out years before Alex.
You're confusing that with the porno, the Boner Compactor.
No, the other one was Kiss the Girls, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh, was it Kiss the?
Kiss the Girls? Yeah, I think it was because my friend was reading it in high school, and she's like, "It's Kiss the Girls, it's really good," and I was like, "That sounds stupid."
Okay, I need to look this up because I have no.
The Morgan Freeman movies, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Morgan Freeman was in all three of those movies that I fucking mentioned. So,
but then Tyler Perry.
Along Came a Spider.
That's the third thing. Is Tyler Perry was in the
and Kiss the Girls both.
Alex, yeah.
Okay.
And then he was Alex Cross and Alex Cross.
Yeah, yes. and you didn't.
Most original title. Yeah.
Don't cross him.
That's just the laziest tagline.
Don't cross Alex Cross. Actually, you know what's worse is the original Venom trailer. Embrace your inner anti-hero.
Oh,
it's so dumb. The new trailer actually had a much better tagline. It was the world has enough superheroes.
Oh, okay. So I don't have to see that movie.
That's a good ass tagline though, for a trailer.
The world has superheroes. So let's not go to this movie.
What, Venom?
Exactly.
Oh, I'm gonna watch Venom. That movie looks like a train wreck.
Well, we already had a Venom movie. It was called Upgrade.
What?
What?
If you see the trailer for Venom and compare it to Upgrade, it's basically.
Oh yeah, it is kind of similar. Yeah, in that he's.
You're talking about the new trailer?
Yeah, one of the trailers.
Well, the original trailer was the one that is like the exact same movie.
Oh, okay, yeah. The new trailer is actually a lot better because it has a lot more of Venom talking, and it's kind of fun. You can't really understand him. I had to watch it a couple times, but at one point,
can't understand him at all. He's like, I'm like, what?
Yeah, he picks up a guy. He's like, I'm gonna eat your legs. I'm gonna eat your arms. Then I'm gonna eat your face off your head, and you'll be an armless, legless, faceless thing rolling down the street like a turd in the wind. And all that's like super muffled and hard to understand. And it's like, any movie that has Tom Hardy's face covered, he's hard to understand now, because like Bane in The Dark Knight Rises.
What if
I
that
don't know,
Randall
like-
guy who did the Honey Badger voiced Venom?
What?
What if the guy who voiced the Honey Badger voiced Venom?
Actually, it's Tom in the movie. It's Tom Hardy, and they just pitch his voice way, way, way down.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, and then Tom Hardy himself in the trailer, he just talks like a fucking 3-year-old. Like, I'm a reporter. I found some bad things. Like, look, mommy. Like, it's got
Shut the fuck up.
it's like, no, watch that second trailer again and tell me that's not what it sounds like.
He does kind of sound like that. He sounds like his character from The Drop, but worse.
Yeah, like wait, like, your boss is an evil person.
It's just that Boston accent.
It's like in fucking what was that movie with David Cronenberg did? Scanners. It's like the main character in Scanners, who's like, I don't like him anymore. I'm just the good guy. I'm gonna blow your brain up now.
You know, after all the talk I'd heard about Scanners, when I finally watched it, I was kind of bored by it.
It was a boring, bad movie. Yeah.
Yeah, Scanners is like a couple of cool gifs.
That's about it. Yeah.
And the thing is, Cronenberg has so many good movies that, you know, it's like the one that people talk about all the time is the one that I'm less interested in.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So what we're saying is Venom is a train wreck. It looks like a train wreck.
Oh yeah, and I'm gonna watch that opening night. Can't wait. It's gonna be so dumb.
Black tar spewing out of every orifice
Maybe.
or body part, whatever.
Yeah,
Both.
it's just regular weekend for Venom.
For Tom Hardy. Yeah.
Tom Hardy. Yeah.
The only other movies this weekend, 8th Grade is getting an expansion, and then The Spy Who Dumped Me is also coming out.
Oh,
Well, eighth grade ought to be good. Yeah.
8th Grade ought to be great. I love Bo Burnham. Spy Who Dumped Me, for some reason, had a one showing one night last Friday that I'm assuming nobody went to see because I'm not getting very much box office.
I know Black Klansman is getting a small early engagement release on Monday.
Ooh,
So I'm catching a showing of it locally, but yeah, no, I'm looking forward to that one. Hopefully we'll all have been able to see it before the next episode.
oh yeah, I
Yes.
definitely want to see that if possible.
I'm confident that it'll be playing near me because there's the town next to me often we had American Animals in its first wave of like 20 theaters, so
Oh wow. Okay.
I'm hoping that it's going to be a similar thing for Black Klansman.
I am fully ready to see a rejuvenated Spike Lee do something really creative again. I mean,
I loved Chirac, but I may be alone on that. So.
Well,
You probably are.
I enjoyed Chirac, but Spike Lee was his own worst enemy in that movie, in that the movie had some moments that just felt so out of pace for what he was trying to do.
Yes, I don't know.
And
I may have to watch it again.
the
Not that it's
entire
first time.
sequence with that redneck general guy.
Oh yeah, that was definitely that's one moment where I can think this is taking me out of it.
But it went on for so fucking long. It was shameful.
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
really hurt my opinion of the movie, which overall I will agree. I enjoyed most of the movie, but that sequence was just so dragged on so long. And by the way, Bamboozled, another movie that drags on for a long time, I like a lot better.
Okay.
Just saying,
All right, I'm just saying. Yeah, sorry, but yes, Spike Lee on his game is great.
Yeah.
All right, so we will on that bombshell. We will.
Was it a bombshell? I don't know. Spike Lee on his game is great.
I was
Yeah.
being facetious, but that's all right.
Okay.
Just turn it off.
Turn it off.